Silver just hit $110, and the United States government is right at the center of it. The situation is truly getting out of control. I mean, you've probably heard warnings about the dollar before, but this time it's getting serious. But what is actually happening? And why is Washington suddenly scrambling? Well, let me explain. Disclaimer. Silver just hit an all-time high of $110 per ounce. And if you think that number appeared out of nowhere, you're missing the massive story that's unfolding right before our eyes. And when you connect the dots between what's happening in Washington, what's happening with the dollar, and what sovereign nations are doing right now, the picture becomes crystal clear. Silver isn't just going up because people feel like buying it. Silver is exploding because the entire foundation of the fiat currency system is cracking beneath our feet. So let's start with the immediate catalyst that's sending shockwaves through the market today. The odds of a US government shutdown have now hit 79%. Now, I'm not here to dive deep into the political circus or bore you with budget details because, frankly, that's not what matters for us as silver investors. What matters is this. When the government is on the brink of shutting down, when there's chaos in Washington, when uncertainty becomes the only certainty, investors panic. And when investors panic about government instability, they don't run to stocks, they don't hide in bonds, they flee to hard assets. They flee to tangible wealth, they flee to silver and gold. Think about what a government shutdown represents. It's not just about parks closing or delayed tax refunds. It's a massive red flag that screams, the people running this system can't even keep the lights on. And if they can't manage basic government functions, why would anyone trust them to manage the currency? This is exactly the kind of systemic risk that drives smart money into precious metals, and that's exactly what we're seeing play out in real time. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is the part that should make every silver investor pay very close attention. The government shutdown isn't happening in isolation. It's happening while the US dollar is in absolute freefall. The dollar index just extended its losses to negative 1.5% this month, hitting its lowest level since mid-September. After posting its worst year since 2017, the dollar isn't catching a break. It's getting absolutely hammered to start this year. And this matters enormously for silver because the dollar is the denominator for everything. When people ask, why is silver going up? The answer is right there in the dollar's decline. It's not that silver is becoming more valuable in some abstract sense. It's that the measuring stick we use, the US dollar, is deteriorating. Think of it this way. If you're measuring your height with a ruler that keeps shrinking, you appear to be getting taller, right? That's what's happening with silver priced in dollars. The fiat currency is weakening, so silver's price in that currency has to rise just to maintain its real value. But silver isn't just maintaining value, it's soaring, which tells you something even more powerful is at play. Now here's a stat that should send chills down your spine if you're holding cash. If the US dollar closes in the red this year, it will mark the first back-to-back annual loss since 2006 and 2007. Do you remember what happened after 2007? The financial crisis, the Great Recession, massive money printing. And where did precious metals go during that period? Through the roof. History doesn't repeat, but it sure does rhyme, and right now we're hearing very familiar echoes. When you zoom out and look at the big picture, the so-called mystery behind what's happening in gold and silver becomes painfully obvious. There is no mystery. The fiat system, the paper currencies that governments can print at will, they're all deteriorating, every single one. And when the denominator of all assets is dying, people wake up and realize they need to own real assets or get left behind holding worthless paper. This is the most fundamental driver of the precious metals bull market, and it's accelerating. But it gets even better for silver investors because something absolutely wild is happening. Politicians are starting to notice. And I'm not talking about some fringe voices or conspiracy theorists. I'm talking about mainstream political figures who are publicly acknowledging what's happening. When Ron DeSantis is tweeting about silver twice a day, you know something major is shifting. Think about that for a second. A major political figure is using his platform to talk about silver multiple times daily. That doesn't happen unless there's a real, undeniable problem with the dollar. This is significant for several reasons. First, it shows that silver has officially entered the mainstream political conversation. This isn't a niche investment anymore. This isn't something only gold bugs and doomsday preppers care about. When politicians are talking about it, when they're acknowledging the dollar's problems in public, it means the cat is out of the bag. The general public is waking up to what silver investors have known for years. But second, and this is crucial, politicians talking about a problem usually precedes politicians doing something about it. And that brings us to perhaps the most explosive piece of news in this entire story. The White House is currently considering a strategic silver reserve. We've heard this news before, but we just got some updates. According to reports, U.S. lawmakers are considering a bill to create a $2.5 billion strategic silver reserve. Why would they do that? Because they understand something that every silver investor needs to internalize. Silver is a strategic asset. It's not just a shiny metal. It's critical for technology, for defense, for renewable energy. And most importantly, it's real money that holds value when paper currencies fail. If this bill comes in place, and frankly, even if it doesn't, the message is already sent. The U.S. government recognizes silver's strategic importance. And here's the kicker for us as investors. If the government starts competing for silver supply, if they're entering the market as a buyer of physical metal, where do you think the price is going? We're already at $110 with government just talking about it. Imagine when they actually start buying. But the United States isn't alone in this realization, and this is where the story gets absolutely mind-blowing. Some people are claiming Saudi Arabia is reportedly investing $100 billion of its oil and mineral wealth into silver as the metal surpasses $100 per ounce for the first time in history. Read that again, $100 billion. That's not a hedge. That's not a small allocation. That's a massive strategic bet by one of the wealthiest sovereign nations on earth. Think about what Saudi Arabia represents. This is a country that became fabulously wealthy selling oil, the commodity that underpinned the entire petrodollar system. For decades, Saudi Arabia was the linchpin that kept the dollar as the world's reserve currency. They sold oil. They got dollars. They recycled those dollars into U.S. treasuries. That was the deal. But now they're taking their wealth and plowing it into silver. If true, that should tell you everything you need to know about where we are in this cycle. When sovereign wealth funds start moving in this direction, when nation-states are following Washington's lead and moving forward to potentially recognizing silver as a strategic asset, this isn't hype. This isn't retail FOMO. This is institutional buying at the absolute highest level. These are the people who move markets, who think in decades, who have access to information and analysis that dwarfs anything retail investors can access. And they're buying silver aggressively. This creates a perfect storm for silver investors. You've got governments wanting to stockpile it. You've got sovereign wealth funds deploying billions into it. You've got industrial demand that continues to grow because silver is irreplaceable in solar panels, electric vehicles, and countless technologies. And you've got investment demand surging because people are waking up to the dollar's decline. Every single source of demand is firing on all cylinders simultaneously, and the results speak for themselves. Silver's market cap has hit a record $6 trillion. Gold's market cap has hit an all-time high of $35 trillion. Together, gold and silver are now worth 9 times the market cap of Nvidia, one of the most valuable companies on the planet. 9 times. This completely legitimizes precious metals as a major asset class. This isn't some tiny corner of the market anymore. This is serious wealth flowing into real, tangible assets. What we're seeing is a fundamental repricing of what real wealth means. For decades, we've been conditioned to think that wealth is measured in dollars, in stock portfolios, in digital numbers on a screen. But when those dollars are losing value year after year, when the government can't even keep itself running, when the most powerful nations on earth are potentially abandoning the system and buying physical silver, that paradigm is breaking down. The narrative is clear and undeniable. Silver is exploding because the government is failing and the dollar is collapsing. This is what a paradigm shift looks like in real time. This is what happens when a monetary system reaches its breaking point. And for those of us who saw this coming, who positioned ourselves in physical silver before the mainstream caught on, we're being validated in the most spectacular way possible. Now, I want to be very clear about something. I'm not saying silver can't have pullbacks. I'm not saying it goes straight up forever without any volatility. What I am saying is that the fundamental drivers behind this move are so powerful, so deeply rooted in systemic problems that have no easy solutions, that the long-term trajectory is unmistakably bullish. Think about where we are in this cycle. Silver just broke through $100 and hit 110. That's a psychological barrier that held for decades, and we smashed through it. These kinds of breakouts don't happen in isolation. They're typically the beginning of much larger moves, not the end. The $100 level that once seemed like a distant dream is now support. Let that sink in. We've completely repriced silver, and all the fundamental factors suggest we're just getting started. But what is your opinion on this? Comment down below. If you're curious to find more, then make sure to click on one of the videos you see on the screen. And with that, we come to the end of this video. If you enjoyed the video, then turn on the notifications bell on this channel. Missing an important silver update might make you lose money, so don't risk it. Also, please share this video with as many people as possible. Let's get this news out there.